Part of moving out here and picking living in a neighborhood like Hillcrest is that it's a walking community. And Josh was able to work in the neighborhood.
Scott Moore is remembering his best friend, Josh Gilliland. The two moved to San Diego as a couple in 2001, fleeing the homophobia they grew up with in Kansas. They stayed friends after their breakup, then on the evening of June 10th last year.
Josh was walking to work, which was Cheers, a watering hole down the street in University Heights. In the same walk he stood for years.
A driver who was later charged with DUI ran a red light and struck Josh as he tried to cross El Cajon Boulevard. Josh died in the hospital 4 days later.
I don't think that I'll ever be completely whole again. We spoke almost every day, and it's just really difficult to continue to want to call him and tell him something. There are so many things that I could only tell Josh, or that we would only understand.
Josh's death was especially painful because neighbors had been complaining about this intersection of El Cajon and Park Boulevard for a long time. It's enormous and confusing, and the streets are wide, which encourages speeding. Just a few months ago, a driver went off the road here and crashed into the fence of a brand new dog park, which still hasn't reopened. Scott sees Mayor Todd Gloria boasting about how many miles of streets the city is repaving, and it doesn't sit right with him.
Losing somebody when it could have been prevented, and knowing that other things are being funded, but intersections like this one behind me aren't getting the attention that they need. I mean, there's so many of them. We have a list of 15 most dangerous intersections, and this intersection didn't even make the list.
In 2015, the San Diego City Council signed on to Vision Zero, a global movement to end all traffic deaths and serious injuries. The city even gave itself a deadline of 2025. But the number of people dying in crashes on city streets each year hasn't budged. Last year's death toll was 62.
Unfortunately, we see nationally that fatalities haven't really dropped, unfortunately. Even coming back out of COVID and seeing normal types of operations and community experiences, unfortunately, we're seeing that those aren't dropping.
Bethany Bezak is director of the San Diego Transportation Department. She acknowledges the city will almost certainly fail its Vision Zero goal next year. But she says her department is still committed to improving street safety.
The Transportation Department continues to track and monitor with a police department and make sure that we understand the highest crash intersections and where some of those safety improvements are needed. And then we're really focused on utilizing our in-house teams to be able to implement those quick and easy, quick build is what we call it, types of installations. That might be just a simple crosswalk striping.
These here are quick build projects, flex posts, and they're able to be put up in a matter of days.
Laura Keenan is founder of Families for Safe Streets San Diego. She became an activist after her husband, Matt Keenan, was killed while biking in 2021. We meet across the intersection where Josh Gilliland was killed last year, next to some freshly painted bike lanes. Keenan says the quick-build safety projects with paint and plastic delineators are great for streets with slower speeds.
On streets where cars and drivers do exceed deadly speeds, they're not always sufficient. They get us, I think, 80% of the way there, but sometimes that extra 20% is life and death. And so we really want the city to focus on adding physical barriers when the travel speeds call for it.
Earlier this year, Keenan led a coalition that pushed for more traffic safety funding in the city budget. They got an extra $785,000. It's not nothing, but meaningful safety improvements to massive intersections like this one will cost a lot more. Scott Moore agrees the cheap and fast fixes are worthwhile, but they're not enough.
The bike lanes and the changes that are being made, it's awesome. It's stuff that we've wanted for so long. And there's so much good stuff happening. It pains me to see that nothing's done about some of the worst intersections in the neighborhood. And it just doesn't seem consistent with the message that the city has given us, that saying that they are committed to safer streets.
Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.